Hi, I want to thank you, Josh, for joining us today and speaking with the youth from Franklinton. Um, he is a class of 2017. Josh, tell me a little bit about your experience at Franklinton High School.
Well, um, what you want me to rate it?
You
So I
you
would
can
say,
rate it or tell me about maybe what activities you were involved in, clubs, sports.
okay, so I was very, like active, but not in school in terms of athletics.
Okay,
Clubs, I didn't really get into any clubs. I just kind of stayed in the middle. So
okay,
I pretty much overall it was a great experience. Of course, I I'd say the most exciting thing that I might have done was taking like the culinary classes.
okay,
Mostly I was really interested in anything that was hands-on, like art class was really my favorite. I know a lot of people they say like, lunch or gym class or everything was their favorite, but
okay.
art class, and I would say the interior design course that I took also. Um, but I think her name was Miss Hall. That
Yeah,
one, yeah,
I've
that
actually
was
coached her daughter, so I'm very familiar with Miss Hall. My daughter was
okay.
in her classes as well.
Yeah, that was my main focus, really the best thing that I got out of that. Um in terms of like, actual classes that you take, I would say of course math is my least favorite. Um math is will always be my least favorite. I actually enjoyed any type of composition, language arts, or reading classes.
Okay.
Science was in between, but yeah, um, that's pretty much it. I didn't really get into a lot of other activities like clubs and everything. Um,
Okay.
so
Well, it's nice to know that you made a great connection. Tell us a little bit about what you do now.
so now I am a bespoke tailor, and
Okay.
I'm located in Wendell, North Carolina. My boss is Mr. Larry Harvey, and I've been working here professionally as a tailor for um, a little over a year. I started last year, 2020, January 6th. So I started there doing that professionally. I've been tailoring um, kind of not professional. I've been tailoring for I'd say about roughly 5 years.
That's
That's
awesome.
when I really started taking it seriously.
Okay.
Sorry for
That's
the
okay.
noise in the background. Um, I've been I've been doing that for about 4 or 5 years, and I'd say sewing in general. Generally speaking, I've been doing that probably maybe 7 years. So now I'm like I said, I'm a bespoke tailor. What that is you. I don't want to answer any questions
Oh
before
no,
I'm
that's
supposed to. So
no, that's
okay.
fine. I just wanted to find out if there was anything like maybe not. I understand like the courses that you took, anything like from the community aspect that helped motivate you to get you to where you are right now professionally.
Um, I would say um most of the inspiration I've gotten that kind of motivated me and pointed me towards the career I'm in now. That mostly came from the beginning of my teenage years. Not necessarily when I was, in school.
Mhm.
Um, I know a lot of people they get their, a lot of inspiration, different stories. They like draw that from, one of their teachers or somebody. There were like people, I wouldn't say one of my role models were somebody in the community. It was
Mhm.
actually people outside, but still watching people. Like for instance, Mr. Wilder, I did a lot like it was my cousin.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like he happens to be my cousin, but close cousin. But like I worked under him some, like in camps, in school, being a
Okay.
assistant with the basketball team and stuff. So it's certain aspects of, just how to go about things in life that I draw from within the community.
Mhm.
But
So
in
he's
terms of my
definitely gonna
career,
push you. He was one of my
yeah,
favorite people.
yeah,
So
yeah. That's what in terms of like your work ethic, I'll
absolutely.
say he would play a big part of that. But in terms of like the actual like skill level and skill set that I like that would pretty much come from outside resources. It's like
Okay.
I'm not just a bespoke tailor, I'm a stylist. So I report back here to Wendell, but I'm kind of independent. So I do a lot of, not so much traveling now because of COVID, but when things are starting to open back up.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's real unique for someone, especially as young as you are, having that much autonomy in what you do every day. So kudos to you. Did
so
you ever kind of change your mind about what you wanted to do, or did you always kind of feel like you were on that same track or that same
I
focus?
did. I was struggling between interior design or interior decorating. I also wanted to be an architect. Which I mean, honestly, I would say that if I could, which I will work towards that in, not the near future, but the future, I would want to, maybe have my own interior decorating business
Okay.
also. But that's why I took the interior design class in school because I was, growing up, that's all me and my mom watched was
Nice.
HGTV. So so I'm very, not, I wouldn't say equally passionate about interiors and architecture than I am fashion styling and everything. But I did go to school. I did
Mhm.
2 years of college online classes at a school in California, San
Okay.
Francisco, California, called Academy of Art University. I did not finish that degree for designing, interior and architecture design, because I was presented with this job opportunity in
Okay.
Wendell. This was my dream career, so I was like, why not? Um,
Absolutely.
Not saying just I'm pushing that to the side, the interior and architecture to the side, design to the side, because I'm very passionate about that. I actually
Absolutely.
did a couple of interior decorating projects
Okay.
within the past 2-3 years. But that's just whenever I had free time. Now I don't have much of that anymore. So
Okay.
but yeah, I was fighting. I actually, like, when I was signing up for classes for college, I I started off with fashion styling, and I think a week or two before the classes actually started, I called the lady, said, "Hey, can I switch my major over to interior decorating?" And she was like, "Yeah, you can do that." So yeah, it was a struggle. I didn't, when I graduated, did not know what I wanted to do.
Well, it's great that you had someone that was supportive and allowed you that flexibility, to kind of ebb and flow and figure out what your passion was and which direction you wanted to take. When you got your role that you're in right now, how did you present? Was it your work that drew your boss to you, or did
No,
you
it was
find him?
I kind of, I wouldn't say I found him. Um, well, as he says it, I just fell out the sky. That's what he says. But from my perspective, it was a family friend. Well, actually, a
Okay.
relative. She was telling me, asking me about, some fixing some shirt or something she had, or a dress, and she was saying, well, she's like, I go to a certain tailor. She's located in Nightdale. So I was like, okay, well, give me her number and everything. And she's like, I'll, contact her. Because I was in school at that point, but I was still trying to figure out, what can I do while I'm in school? Because I'm taking online courses. School is all the way
Okay.
in
Yeah.
California. So she recommended me to this lady in Nightdale named Catherine. And I called her. She said, well, I'm actually going on vacation right now, about to leave vacation. So I'm going to refer you to Mr. Harvey. And I called Mr. Harvey, told him, who sent me to him and what my name is. He said, okay, well, bring the, best thing, like something simple you have. I
Mhm.
brought him the last suit that I had made myself, and I brought that over here to Wendell. He looked at it. And from then he just said, yeah, so I'm gonna hire you.
Awesome.
The rest is, I guess, as they say, rest is history. So
Well, what's the easiest part of what you do right now?
mm, easiest part. Majority of the, I would say majority of the, that's hard. It's a hard question, actually. It's not, I don't do, there's not a whole lot that I do, but
Mhm.
at the same time, there's a whole lot of like little pieces to it, that is, because most of the time I just sit here and do alterations all day.
Gotcha.
People come in and we just work on stuff. But as a stylist, I I would say the easiest part is doing the alterations.
Okay.
It as hard and complicated as that could be, it because you got to learn like every single piece of clothing, not just how it's made, but how to take it apart,
Yeah.
alter it, and put it together just like they bought it off the rack. Um, and not damage it because you gotta
Exactly.
replace it. So I would say that's the hardest part because the styling, that's just me being like sitting around asking people questions, their
Hmm.
likes and dislikes and everything, learning their
Being
body type.
creative. Yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna change that. It's not the alterations. The hardest part is actually being like a tailor and having like a certain eye for like the little minute details because you
Okay.
have to know the anatomy of you have to know everybody's body type.
Hmm.
Everybody that walks in the door is going to be different.
Different. Yeah.
So and it's not like just your basic measurements that you take. There's a lot of other measurements that the average tailor doesn't take, that me as a bespoke tailor, I take into consideration because that one little thing, a quarter of an inch,
Yeah.
whether it's something like you having a low shoulder or one arm is longer than the other or leg is like got a high hip, all that type of stuff.
Most people don't
Like
think about body symmetry like that, but you got it
yeah,
down
so
pat.
that's the hardest part because you can easily like mess something up and it's something gonna be off just by missing those little things. So as soon as somebody walks through the door and they're new, like I'm scanning them from head to toe, trying to. So that's the
Gotcha.
hardest part because everybody doesn't have that eye.
Exactly. So as far as like, I know you kind of identified, the area you wanted to go to when you were early in your teens. Would you have any advice for middle school students that are trying to find their way and looking for a path if they're interested in interior design or being a tailor or a stylist?
Um, I would say I can't say too much about interior design. Um, but I would say for being a tailor or a stylist, the fashion industry is very, very, very vast. So you have to, if you want to get into that, it's very possible. Anything's possible, but
Mm-hmm.
you have to really develop some type of product that is different, but you don't want it to get to the point where you're going outside the bounds of, this is a shirt, this is a suit. People
Exactly.
you can get too crazy. You can be different and get creative, but you don't want to get too crazy. So you need to, it requires, a certain, skill set and a certain amount of creativity to be able to develop a product so you don't look like it's cookie cutter and you're
Exactly.
trying to mimic somebody else because there are a lot of things legal limitations out here where people have it and they will sue you. So you
Exactly.
don't want so you don't want to, I would
I
say, so
watch
you're
reality
gonna
TV way too much, and I see it all the time.
yeah, so there's a lot of things you want to like consider if you want to get into um pretty much just having a something that is mass produced.
Okay.
But if you're going to be specifically a tailor, I would say take some like self-evaluation and see, do I have enough patience to do this? Because being a
Gotcha.
tailor, you have to have a lot of patience to be a tailor.
Mm-hmm.
Sit down and actually be able to hand sew because like my garments that I make myself is, I'd say 90 to 95% of it is done by hand. I can use the
Gotcha.
sewing machine, but I prefer to do it by, it's just therapeutic to me to just sit there. My fingertip is
Oh my
you know
goodness.
hurts sometimes, but it's like you have to have a lot of patience and um so I would say that's the main part that plays into it,
Okay.
the creativity and the patience. If you have those two, um, then I think you'll be on the right path to
Okay.
possibly be, if you want, if that's their goal to be a tailor or do something in the fashion industry. But like I say, if you don't want to be a tailor and make things yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you have the shortcut where you can make just as much money, get out there by having things mass produced. You just got to have you know your place in the industry, something
Yeah.
that catches people eye,
Okay.
where price, you gotta price things right also because people, if you price it too high, um people were like, well, I can get this same thing for a lot cheaper. So
Right.
it's
Gotcha. Would you change that for high school students, or would be kind of along the same line?
along the same thing. Cause like my I've been drawing for I don't know how long. I've always been I guess what they call or like artistic. So
Mm-hmm.
um I've always, had my sketchbook, went from crayons and markers to, colored pencils and getting like the special pack of colored, all that stuff. So
Yeah.
like in the different size like leads and all that stuff, trying to, perfect my craft and, get to the advanced level of an artist. So it went from that to like drawing anything,
Mm-hmm.
to specifically drawing just clothes. I would only
Gotcha.
draw clothes and watches. That's it. Actually, suits. It wasn't any other clothes. It was just suits
Gotcha.
and
Yeah.
even when I got to high school, I had Mr. Phillips, and he could tell you now that a good number of my projects I did not finish. Um, he just left me alone by myself, even like trying to help me. He did
Mm-hmm.
because he knew I wasn't going to ask questions. I had to figure it out by myself. So a lot of my projects, I got them in a room in the house now. It's either a painting or sketch or something of a watch or a suit. It's going to have something to do with menswear.
Yeah.
Um, so I would say like over time, my like focus, kind of shifted.
Mm-hmm.
But it, I could see like now how it developed over time.
That's
So
good.
if, a lot of kids, kids just in general at a young age, they
Mm-hmm.
scribble stuff and
Yeah.
coloring books and all that. So I would, I would say that, you can start at a young age,
Yeah.
kind of see along the lines. It might change, but if you feel like I want to be some type of artist because
Okay.
I don't draw or paint or anything. Well, I do draw because I draw things my fashion sketches out, but
Right.
and at the same time you don't have to be a like great artist to be able to sketch that out.
Okay.
I just like to do my stuff in detail, but yeah, you can kind of determine along the way if you want to be an artist. Mine just shifted to being actual artist,
Mm-hmm.
to a tailor and a stylist.
Gotcha. And you're really still young in your career. Do you have a backup plan, a plan B?
My plan B is actually the interior decorating. I
Okay.
haven't put much effort into the plan B now because I'm seeing, how plan A is working.
Mm-hmm.
Um
It's a demand.
there's actually so there's actually I, I mean interior decorating might be plan C actually, because now that I think about it, because there's so many different avenues you can take when it comes to fashion.
Uh-huh.
um you can be a tailor, make things yourself. You can be a tailor and just do strictly alterations. You
Mm-hmm.
can you can get jobs at some of the um men's clothiers or other clothing stores, where they need a tailor in the back.
Okay.
Dry cleaning tailors, you if you don't want to be a tailor, you can have your own. You can easily get your own line of hoodies, t-shirts, all that stuff now, and just put something on and get it printed. Find a
Absolutely.
manufacturer. So you can do that. You can be a stylist. Um, you can be a designer. There's so many different avenues. So I would say hypothetically, if this were to fall through, I could just be a stylist and be just
Be
as successful
successful.
doing that.
Oh, that's awesome. Was there anything in particular that you had to overcome kind of on your path during this
Yes.
journey?
So at the age of 13,
Mhm.
I've developed this thing called Guillain-Barré syndrome.
Okay.
What it does is your body pretty much your immune system, I guess I think I'm wording it right, kind of attacks your body.
Hmm.
Your body, I think what they say, if they phrase it, like your body turns on itself or something.
Like an
So
autoimmune.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it causes depending on how fast they catch it and
Hmm.
treat it, it can cause major paralysis, and it kind of eats away at your nerves.
Wow.
Mine started in May of 2012, and it started on a Monday. It could come from three different things. Well, at the time, that's what I don't know, they might have found something since then. But at that time, they said it could come from a virus, a traumatic experience happening to your body, or a surgery. In that March of 2012, I had just had a tonsillectomy. So I don't know, it could have came from that, or it could have just came from the, stomach virus that I had. That virus lasted 3 days. It ended Wednesday, and that same Wednesday, my feet started tingling. I thought maybe they fell asleep. But it lasted all day, so I was, kind of iffy about like what's going on.
What's the cause?
And Thursday, it went from my feet up to my calf, and then from Thursday to Friday, it went from my calf up to my thigh. By Friday night, I went up. I know that I got up to go to the bathroom that night, and I just fell right back down to the floor, because from Wednesday to Friday, it went from my feet up to my waist. From like my waist and stomach down, I could not feel anything by Friday night.
Yeah.
And it was very fast. So, the house we lived in then, it was about 45 minutes to the Wake Med Hospital, and within 45 minutes, my dad got me dressed and everything. They took me there. It had went from my stomach up to my neck by the time they got me in the ER.
Wow.
Like off the car in a wheelchair to the ER. So I don't remember anything really from that until I woke up. They put me in a medically induced coma. From everything I'm about to tell you now, is what either the doctor or my mom told me. Because the medicine they gave me to reverse it, they told her that, it would kind of mess with my memory, long-term and short-term memory. But of course, she said if that's what's going to keep him alive, give it to him.
Do it. Absolutely.
So I was in the hospital for 84 days. I was in pediatric ICU. Actually, my mom recently said something a couple months ago, said you were actually in there a little over 100 days, because they had you in a smaller facility before they moved you to pediatric ICU. So I was in pediatric ICU for 44 days and inpatient rehab for 40 days. And then I spent the next 3.5 months in outpatient rehab. I coded twice. They gave me a trach and a stomach tube because I lost all functions on my body. They put me in medically induced coma, so they had to feed me through a tube. And once I did wake up, it started descending. And they say the first place, wherever it starts, that's the last place to fully recover. It's been 9 years, almost 9 years, and my feet are still, recovering.
Goodness.
You're
a walking testimony.
Yes, ma'am. Once I got to inpatient rehab, I had to learn how to walk again, feed myself, regain all of my motor skills, like tie my own shoes, like bathe myself, all of that stuff. So it's kind of like, a baby learning how to do all this stuff, but in like a lot of pain added with that.
Goodness. Yeah.
Because, your nerves are coming back, the feelings coming back. Like when they would turn me over and bathe me and stuff, like just poking my skin would like feel like somebody's ripping the skin off of you.
Wow.
So that's the main thing, because after I was discharged, I then had to kind of figure out, okay, what am I going to do? What is
Absolutely.
I have, still have, my life, so what am I going to get out of this? Because before then I was climbing, jumping on everything. I was just about to try out for a track team right before that happened. When I got out, I had to do my first half of my 8th grade year of middle school at home. Once I got back, they kind of like gave me some alternative assignments to do and everything, because one of the lasting effects from that is like fatigue. It's not as bad as it still happens now, but it's not nearly as bad as it used to be. I just have to pace myself and everything. So I started, I couldn't go out. Most of my friends were athletes. My siblings, all they did was play basketball outside of school. So I saw them, I had to watch them and my neighbors outside playing, my friends can't go out with them. I had to sit in
Right.
only place I went was from home to church, to a doctor's appointment or therapy. So it was really depressing. Had to get over that part also.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, I was blessed to still be alive. So I was like, right before that, the year or two before that, I had just started playing because I'm a musician also. So
Okay.
I had just started learning how to play the piano, and like a year after that, that's when that happened. And there was a room down the hall from my therapy, my room when I was in therapy, and it was a piano in this room. So I used to go over there and play, um, and I remember thinking, God, you gave me this gift. I let me.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's when I would say now pretty much the majority of my gifts and talents all lie like in my hands. If it's
That's
not
good.
like an eye for detail and everything, it has to do with my hands. So God tremendously blessed my hands to anything I put my hands to do. Like He allows me to do it. So that's when my skill level for sewing and interest in actually sewing, not just wanting to dress nicely,
Hmm.
that's when that started developing. So that I would say that's the most the mental and physical aspect of that experience. That's really what I had to overcome, because now I had the work ethic. I wanted to work.
Exactly.
So it wasn't like I didn't want to do anything. It's just physically I was not able to.
Right.
And I was told sometimes, you're making an excuse for yourself, and I was like, okay, well, it's people out here with disabilities, worse than mine, but they can still do things. But it's hard to I see, is hypothetically, somebody who's, unfortunately lost a limb.
Hmm.
They still, have the energy and the stamina to actually do. They can still do things.
Right.
But it's a little bit harder when you have all functions of your body, but you don't have the stamina to do it,
To
because if
do
you
it. Right.
overwork yourself, if you put in all of that work needed to accomplish your goal, you might be laid out somewhere. So I have to pace myself. That's really my main struggle now, is
Okay.
learning how am I going to get to where I want to be in my career, and
And not
not
overdo it.
not work
Yeah.
myself in the ground. So
Well, I have
that's the main.
to, I mean, I commend you for, your tenacity and fighting through all the obstacles that you went through. I mean, that's definitely a story that a lot of young people need to hear. I got to ask, did you make your suit that you have on? The
Yes,
jacket?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Very nice, very nice. I have some
Thank you.
projects for you. But
All right.
certainly, I want to make sure that you share your socials and how you market yourself. And that we can definitely make sure that they have access to it when they see the video. But if you could let us know your email address, that way if kids do have questions, if you're open to conversating with them, I'm sure
Yes,
they'd
ma'am.
be glad to connect.
Okay, so my email is jperr316@gmail.com.
Okay.
My Instagram, well, that's really the only social media that I really use or advertise on.
Mm-hmm.
That is somewhat under construction right now, because I'm in the process of taking over my boss's business because he's trying to
Okay.
retire. So trying to get websites and advertisement photo shoots and all that planned up. But my Instagram is _Joshua SP_.
Okay.
Like I said, that's I have Facebook, but I don't use that yet. So that's the best places to reach me as of right now.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the time you spent, kind of sharing your story, your background, and how Franklinton High School and the community has helped you to become the man you are. Um,
Yeah.
I encourage you to keep striving, keep trying different things. I'm sure that your gifts will make room for you, and that's all of them, not just one or two.
Yeah.
So, but thank you again. You have a wonderful evening.
Same to you. Thank you.
Bye bye.